for that position. Can you imagine that? But you know what? My mother and father were Christian people. And I can remember on Sunday mornings when they would get up, they'd turn on the stereo. Now, some of you are so young, you just know CDs and all that kind of thing. We had stereo back then, sometimes called a record player. And they would put on this particular song by the great, the outstanding Mahalia Jackson. And it was called Precious Lord. And my mother, she would start to cry. And as a kid, I didn't understand why. Mother, why are you crying? She said, you'll understand one day. Daddy, why is mother crying? He said, it'll be all right. But she would look and say, these are tears of joy. To a child, that makes no sense. But Father Time will teach you a thing or two. Mm-hmm. And Father Time taught me about Precious Lord. Take my hand. Mm-hmm. I told Patrice, I said, you know, my allergies are acting up and my nose is stopped. She said, I don't care. Mm-hmm. If you have to hum something, just come and hum a little bit. So tonight, with all those obstacles against me, I stand as a pride pilot, as a proud child of God, to try to just sing a little bit for you. And if I get off key, because this is a cappella, you know, that's kind of dangerous sometimes. Just bear with me. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let your child stand. I'm so tired. I'm weak and I'm worn through the storms, through the night. Lead me on, thank you, Jesus, to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead your child home when my way grows so drear. Precious Lord, linger near here when my life is almost done. Hear my cry, please, Jesus. Hear my call. Just hold my hand. Least I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. And the last verse says, when the darkness appears Then it says, and the night draws so near, and the day is past and done at the river. Lord, I stand. Please guide my feet and hold my hand, precious Lord. Take my hand and lead your child home. Thank you.
I can't thank you enough.
Sorry. The Lord's got you, my friend.
Thank you
My
for
friends.
you know what
And
you
I
mean.
love you. I
I
love you. And you guys have been, don't get me to talking too much, but you've been in my life and you've supported me. I respect you. I love you. And if you need me, they're always here. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you very much.
I love you.
Thank you, Ms. Beverly.
No, yeah. I'm with you.
Good night.
Okay.
So I did get us online.
All right, superintendent notification of personnel action.
Got that pulled up right here.
Chairman Garrigan, we have one new substitute, and it's Austin Pearl. He's our new substitute.
We're on the superintendent report.
I told y'all it's a non-traditional night. So first of all, I'm gonna stand because I'm so peacock proud right now to be interim superintendent of Fulton County Schools. I'm honored that the 5 of you, Ms. Kim included, the 5, have given me the opportunity to lead this district, especially in a pandemic. I want the world to know because I know where you two lie. I was born and raised here. I graduated from here. And now I'm interim superintendent at Fulton County Schools. No other place I'd rather be. I am so proud to be a pilot. Now I want to give a wild factor shout out to Brock Bridges for passing his welding certification. Josh Cole, full ride on a football scholarship to Campbellsville University. I think that makes 4 going to Campbellsville, and I don't think that's ever been done at Fulton County Schools. I want to thank our students, faculty, and staff for the Random Act of Kindness project. They chose to send cards to the nursing home in Fulton to brighten our days. We have over close to 40 cards and gifts to take to the nursing home. Again, this is FF Week. Thank you, Chairman Dragon, for feeding us, informer. We have several teachers, this is big for Fulton County, who are piloting a KET project. And what this does is the teachers will be using hardware and software that KET has provided for us for students who do not have internet access. So this KET program, we're gonna be the pilot to see if it works. So hear me now, Fulton County Schools is a pilot for KET, the KET program. Each month, I report to you board on my professional development. And this month, it's been on Standard 3, which is strategic leadership. And I've attended the WKEC superintendent meeting, discussed components for the ESSER 2 plan in order for it to go into the GMAP. I've discussed facility upgrades with the building projects with the facilities director and our finance officer and our technology director. And I've also met with, had a consultation with Train about our energy savings, which by the way have been great. And then Standard 4 is human resource. And March 1 is when we are to have our SBDM allocations to the principal. So that's been my focus. We have our allocations ready. The principals have their allocations. Upcoming events. The second dose of vaccines will be given to our faculty and staff tomorrow. At this point, we had 40 out of 100 who were vaccinated, and we'll have our second one tomorrow. Our pilot academy will be held on March 12th. Ms. Ellen, our high school principal, will be sending board your invitation for you to attend if possible. Also, upcoming event will be our first district basketball tournament will be held on Saturday, March 13th, Monday, March 15th, and on Tuesday, March 16th. Fulton County will be hosting this year. Chairman, that ends my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tree. All right. Can we go ahead and ask the parents to step in before we start the review?
Sure.
Ms. Dan, is anything in there?
Yes.
You want to let them over here?
Okay.
Good evening. Evening. We start the review.
Ms.
You want to let them speak?
Yeah, I want to let them speak, but I want the, you know,
That's your backup, man.
Ms. Diane,
Wait a minute.
Ms. Diane, and the principals on the academic team, and the principals, please. You can.
I don't mind. That way it's a- yes.
But before the parents speak, I want to talk with you again about being the leader of Fulton County Schools and through a pandemic. And I was at a meeting on, what's the day, Thursday? Yesterday, with Region 1 superintendents. And we all know that the governor sure is, want everybody to get back to school. Well, we've been in school since September. It was enlightening to hear that some schools haven't even gone back in. So I'm proud of Fulton County Schools for going 4 days a week. But as we know, we can always get better, do better for our kids. I'm proud of our administrative staff who keep students at the forefront day in and day out. I'm proud of our teachers for working hard day in and day out. So we thought it was fitting to review our opening day plan. We do go 4 days a week. And, but no, let me correct that. We go 5 days a week. We're in school 5 days a week. On Friday, that is used for our virtual students to come in and receive assistance from our teachers. That's also a day when we use deep cleaning, and our teachers plan for the next week for all students. And I just want to say this. Ms. Diana, she's my instructional supervisor, and we talk daily. And we always talk about doing what's best for kids. You all know Maurice Tucker, who taught here, my father, over 30-some years, who was an educator here. And so this is home, and this is my heart, and the students in Fulton County deserve all that we can give them. So with that being said, I had an administrative meeting today with my team. And like I said, we already come 5 days a week. But our 4-day students have NTI on Friday also. We discussed bringing the students in on Fridays. And so I have directed my principals, and I'm saying this to the community, I have directed my principals. I want parents to please call the principals if you have any concerns about your child, and if your child needs extra assistance on Friday. We're here to service the kids, and that's what we're going to do. I'm just proud to be a pilot. So again, if your child needs extra help, I would encourage you to contact the principal, and you all work out what you need to do to get your child where they need to be. Thank you, and we have some guests tonight. And Terry, you want to take it over?
All right. We have Keith Carlton and Sean Parks here to speak as parents are concerned, and I'm still one, I'd like to see the kids here 5 days somehow, some way. And I know we have more parents than this that are concerned. We'd like to go back to 5 day week, and I'd like to let them voice their concerns at this point, and we can all discuss it with y'all here. Everybody speaks to mind.
Well, I appreciate it. Again, Heath Carlton graduated from Fulton County High School, worked here locally, and had 3 kids in the school system. First, I want to commend the efforts of the board and the administrators as they moved through this pandemic and were able to service our children 4 days a week and offer a virtual program. Looking through everything surrounding schools and been in school 5 days a week, there's a trend, even with the governor, to start pushing people to return to school, wanting schools to get back in session. And that's due mainly, I think, to the vaccination, which you mentioned earlier. I feel like the students with the NTI work that has been given to them since March, basically a year ago, for 12 months into this, through March and through the school year, currently, you've accumulated probably in the neighborhood of 100 or so NTI days. Okay, currently you've got 56 days that you've been in in-person schooling for the kids that are coming 4 days a week. You've got about 45 remaining if you continue the same schedule, which is going to give you maybe 101 days of in-person instruction. So to me, if you're counting 101 days of in-person instruction along with the NTI as a full year of school, really the children, every child is going to be a year behind. As we move forward, and we have 40 faculty or staff that have been vaccinated.
40.
And that was on a voluntary basis on the school.
It sure was.
Okay. So you're starting your last shot tomorrow. So with that in mind, those that have chosen to be vaccinated should be in a protected situation. As I said again, I commend you because you've run through the school year, did the protocol that was taught on by CDC and everything. and everything seems to have gone pretty well. There's been a few quarantine situations, and I understand that's going to happen in situations such as this. My concern is that the children are behind. My child that's in 4th grade, he's been offered tutoring 1 hour a day on Tuesday afternoons, which is going to be an extra hour and a half at school. Not to mention what the schoolwork they were doing with NTI packets and regular homework throughout the week. My current situation and his mother as well, we're divorced and we have our time split 50-50. I'm going to say that we're spending at least 25% of our 50% of our time with our children doing homework in 3 separate grades: preschool, kindergarten, 4th grade. 4th grade is obviously taking up a whole lot more of the time. 1 hour a week to me is, I'm glad that it's being offered. 7 hours a week of in-person instruction would be more sufficient in the case that I'm witnessing myself. I know that there's got to be other parents that feel the same. We have a neighbor in school 15 miles away. I don't know the exact circumstances there. They have been 5 days a week since August. They didn't start late, they started in August. And they just surpassed 100 days of in-person schooling 2 or 3 weeks ago. We're looking at 101 days, maybe possibly max, if nothing else happens throughout the school. That's just, to me, it's unacceptable. I appreciate it, it's great, and I do commend the efforts that have been going forward. I feel like I'm here because I owe that to my child, every one of my children, to ask for a reasoning behind or what potentially is keeping us from going to a 5-day week for the remainder of the school year. If there's any word towards a solution to possibly get us back in. I know the NTI, everybody's leaning on the NTI really hard. But, NTI program that was expanded to you guys to use as an aid during this pandemic. To me, it's like a crutch to get through. At some point in time, you got to put that crutch down in order to get up and walk and run again. And we need to be running. The only people that are suffering here are children. They're a year behind. The school system, you're doing the best that you can to improve the quality of education here. Our testing has been improving, and this is only going to set that back. They have a high percentage of underprivileged children here. That's facts, straight off the books. We're not doing them a service that they deserve by not being in school full time. So I would charge the school board and the superintendent to consider and place and enter into a vote on returning to 5 days a week, or at least strongly consider it.
Well, he said a lot more than I said. My name is, I'm Sean Parks. Lived here all my life, graduated from Fulton County High School. I remember your father very well. Yes, my 4th grade teacher, and he was no joke. Your brother was right behind me in school. Yeah, but I don't know. When all this came about, nobody knew what we were going to face, how it was going to turn out, and it kind of got thrown on us. And we all complied and did what we had to do in the NTI, and we made the best of it as best we could. But I can tell you this: I have a set of twins. They're a year old. My wife works from home. We're fortunate that we don't have to find childcare for our children when they're out of school. But at the same time, she still has a full-time job to do at home. And, I farm for a living. There's times I can't be there. There's times I can. But my kids won't be in school. And I can tell a difference in their attitude just today. I can tell how much better they act. They're in a better mood when they come home. They just, my little boy especially, it's amazing to me how much better of an attitude he has when he goes to school. And my wife made tuna fish for supper. I was getting ready to leave him out here, and she told him, said, I must have been in first grade. She said, well, we're going to eat supper, and then we got to do homework. And got it's just the end of the world. And I feel like, kind of like he said, it's like all our other free time is she tries to cram it in when she can so that we're not having to do it when you get off from work. Otherwise, you get off work at 5 o'clock. You're doing homework till 6 or 7, and then you got to eat in there sometime or other. Then you got to give kids baths. The next thing you know, you're doing homework till it's bedtime, and they can't. There's no time to run and play. And I'll be honest with you, I think what really kind of did it, and I wouldn't so much have a problem with it if we weren't doing it every Friday, but sending the NTI home for school for the snow days. If we were going 5 days a week, I can live with that. Doing it on a snow day, I can live with that. But it's like, yeah, you can't go past snow, but we got homework to do. And it is kind of frustrating. I hope that ain't bad. But I'm gonna tell you, my concern with this whole situation, and I don't know, this is just, I may be speaking way out of turn. I hope that we haven't got a group of people that have gotten used to, I like this 4-day week, work week, and 3-day long weekend. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, and I hope that's not going to continue. I'm like, I want to get the kids back to school. I mean, because most people, if they work for a living, everything is geared for kids to be at school, parents to be at work. And then when you throw that, it's not just, well, sickness today, I got to deal with it today. It's, hey, we're going to be out for 2 weeks or 2 months, or it makes it tough on parents when they have to try to, and then so that they don't put it on grandparents. And oh man, you got grandparents. I can't figure out how to do some of this work. I got a college degree. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, these grandparents are lost. So I agree with you. I'm thinking our kids are they're struggling. I'm afraid. And I wish we could get back on a 5-day week and get back to some normalcy. I know my kids would anyway. But.
Just to add a little bit to what he was talking about too, it speaks volumes that you have an enrollment. I think you said 584 students.
584.
And your virtual load has come down to
67.
Okay. That's roughly 11% of your total enrollment that's on virtual. We're holding back 89 to 90% of the students over 11%, 10%. I think the 500, the 90% of the 584 enrollment coming back to school, those parents sending them back to school, speaks volumes about the job that you guys are doing to protect their children while they're here. And it also speaks volumes that they want their kids to have an education. And again, like I said, looking through those numbers and different numbers that I've researched online and stuff, I feel like it's owed to the children to get those that are being sent here for an education, to give them that extra day. Because, you're looking at an hour a week for some that could turn into 7. Even if you've only got the last 10 Fridays of the school year, that's still 70 hours of instruction or hands-on teaching that you can get these kids versus, 10 hours. That's what I mean.
And I'm not knocking the job you've done. I don't want anybody to think that. I'm not, because I'm proud of Fulton County High School just like you are. Fulton County Schools in general, not just high school. I mean, Fulton County Schools. And you know what I mean.
It's going to be the other one's going to kick you back.
Well, I'm proud to have my kids in this school. I'm going to tell you, there's a godly presence in this school. There's some godly people in this school. And I am proud of that. And I want my kids to go to school here. And me and my wife are both educated people, but we didn't go to school to be teachers. My wife's a nurse. You know what I'm saying? And if I wanted to homeschool my kids, I'd do something totally different than what we're doing. And I don't want to homeschool my children. I want to have the interaction with other people. And
My children won't listen to me.
and they will not listen. They think we are the devil. And this is, that's what it is. They think we are the devil, and they have respect for those teachers. They do, and they understand that they have to respect what those teachers say, and they'll listen to those teachers. And, I mean,
You hit the nail on the head.
That's fair, like that is.
I can't be any more proud to be a pilot every day for the fact that what you just
I'm
mentioned,
telling you,
there's
man.
godly presence in this
it
school.
is.
My son has been allowed to pray before school. I've talked to Patrice about this before. He's been allowed to pray before school every so often. I think there's a rotation to allow the children to do that. And
I think
school
it's great.
systems around and
Hey, I think it's great. I mean, I'm not knocking it at all. I'm just asking you, kind of like, I don't, these people that are virtual, that's their choice. But we're forced into staying home on Fridays. Our kids don't really want to. They want to go to school. My little boy running around, we go to school tomorrow. No, the NTIs. And they would rather be in school. I mean, and I really wish y'all would consider it. I mean, if we can do it 4 days, why can't we do it 5? I mean, there's got to be a way. I mean, we can't, I guess you can't force the virtual people to come back, but I mean, it's.
And we're not here to criticize anything that's been done or that will be done. We're here as concerned parents. We're not angry. We're here to have a discussion and to actually inquire as to just put it before the board and administrators as to, what reasons are there present that we cannot be in a 5-day-a-week situation again. But the numbers are going down, the governor's pushing for students to be back in school. Nationwide, I think the numbers that have been showing that falling off, we're going down to the tune of 37%, daily, versus 2 or 3 weeks ago, they're down 37%. So
Yeah, I don't want it to become accustomed, like, hey, this is nice. This 4-day week is nice. And I'm not saying that's what's happening. I don't know, but I can see where that could happen very easily. And man, I get a long weekend. I want to stay, and I don't want to see that happen. I mean, because Lord knows we pay no taxes to pay all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, we're paying all these taxes, so why are we going to do all this teaching? Which the pandemic's different. I understand we had to send them home. I mean, but now it's time to get back to business. I feel like.
I guess we're asking for there to be a plan to possibly get back into school before then.
Hopefully ASAP, like Monday, if we can. I mean, just the quicker the better, I feel like,
Patrice, go ahead. Let's say Patrice knows, we talked hours this week, too, y'all know. My personal opinion is, whatever we gotta do, I would like to see the kids in school 5 days a week. However we have to do it, if it's still those kids that want to be here on Friday, you're here. You come in at 8, you leave at 3 like you want to. If their parents choose to, I still want to do an NTI on Friday, I guess that's their choice. But in my opinion, I want to see somehow get these kids in, because I feel like we're so far behind that the only way we will ever catch up is to get the kids in here. And I told Teresa today, I said, I don't know if we'd ever catch them up. My personal opinion, and I probably need this paper, is we need to hold every kid back and start them all over, so there's no way to catch up.
You're the second person I've heard say that.
I know it can't happen, but I mean, literally, in my mind,
that's
we're
my
so far
fear.
behind, that's the only way to catch them up.
What if we go back to a normal school year and then say my kids pass on to the second and the third, and all of a sudden, hey, y'all are way behind. We should,
Well, I
I
can't, if I told you, 3, 4, but I said, what happens 15 to 20 years now, when these kids get out, we never catch them up. They're out, it's just snowballs.
At the end of the day, it's not fair to the children. Yes, they should. Technically, you're right. They cannot be called up without probably being held back a year and repeating the grade.
But we
Unless
have
you
to find out what we
unless
can
you go
get it.
every day through the summer to catch them up. But you've lost that time. You can't get it back. Now's the time not to lose any more time.
But it's also really not fair to leave that 60, what'd you say, 7 or 8?
67.
Hold the other.
20.
Well, I told Tree today, I feel responsible on one end for the fact that when Aaron decided to shut school down, we'll go there notice. In hindsight, personally feel like we should have waited until the very last minute when the governor said you're shut down, which would have been 3 weeks actually, all we were lost last spring.
I think you lost 50-something days.
Yeah,
And then
We followed Aaron's lead and.
Hindsight's always.
Yeah. It wasn't, I wouldn't.
Ain't no sense in worrying about that now. I mean, I know what you're saying.
But I look at it like, you know, that was a huge mistake on our end.
Well, maybe so.
You learn from them.
You learn from your mistakes.
We had never done this before, you know.
Yeah, you never had this problem before,
Who
you
knew
know?
it was gonna be 12 months later, we're still doing it.
I had a discussion with Patrice today. Fortunately, in our lifetime, we haven't dealt with it.
And every now and then, hopefully we won't again. But instead of worrying about what should have been,
Yeah.
let's worry about,
We got corrected.
let's try. You know,
And
that's what
and
we're
you
asking.
done- and the system has done great with the information that you've been passed down from the CDC and the government and the science behind all of it. You know, they're still not where they need to be.
Yeah.
Just now, we're getting things where they're clicking with vaccines and any of that. But anyhow, I think
She can't even see us.
we have portrayed what we can do.
I can't see you real well, but I'm listening.
Can't even see us over, we should have stood over here and said this.
Like bankrupt.
I greatly appreciate, the two of you coming and speaking. I want to encourage you and I want you to encourage other families, to call our principals with these types of concerns. Call me about these types of concerns, because I want to address them. And Monday was the first that I've heard that parents want their students back here on Friday. My door is always open to listen. These administrators' doors are open. But as an interim superintendent in a pandemic, I'm gonna just be honest, I am still nervous about the safety of all students. But I also told you today to contact the parent. You want to contact the administrator. If you want your child here on Friday, contact the administrator, and I'm sure y'all can work something out. I still, okay.
Let me ask this, when we say that, is it, I guess I'm trying to clarify this.
Well, what
Are
I'm.
we only doing like 2 or 3 hours with like the virtual, or are they allowed to come all day?
It could be either or, but mostly all day.
Well, my next question about that is, okay, so, I mean, our bus is gonna run, I mean, how we gonna, I mean, we bring them to school, but I mean,
I'm gonna tell you this, when you talk to the administrator and y'all work out that you want your student to come and you say, I don't have transportation, you'll have transportation. I mean, that's what we're here for, to work out what's best for each student. And so,
Honestly, I don't feel like it's fair to your administrators to have every student's parents calling them to arrange them to be there on Fridays. I believe that's something that needs action taken by the school board to say, hey, okay, you have the ability to send your kids 5 days. You can do 4 days with NTI, or you can have the choice of complete virtual, just as you have now. But add in the ability to go 5 days. Because to me, that's.
we're just hanging it kind of out there in the air. and
Yeah,
you just
there's
work it out.
no action being made
There's
for
no
it.
Like I said, we have a lot of parents that will not call.
Right.
Well,
I mean, we really do, I mean, there's parents that,
I just feel like
this is gonna be a nice way to say it, but you got a lot of parents that's not gonna help with the NTI. They're not gonna make the kids do the work. They don't care. And the only way to catch those kids up is to have them here.
well, that's kind of why I feel like we're here kind of like, we need to know something.
I think there needs to be action,
You know,
by the board to say,
By the
buses are
board,
gonna run,
yes.
they're scheduled routes. on
whether it's what
Fridays.
we want or what we don't want, we need to know, yes, we're going, or no, we're gonna keep it like it is. I think we need a decision, but
okay.
And an answer,
so that everybody knows, and just,
It is a board decision. So the board has listened to you and they've taken your advice and I'm sure that they're here from the board. This is a board decision.
This is my opinion. I think we can talk about this 100 ways around on I mean, I've heard if the parents still want to do the 5th day, don't show up, fine. But otherwise, expect your kids to be here on Friday. That's my opinion. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, or.
You mean unless they specify they want to do virtual, you can't need to be at school on Friday.
Okay.
Per our
I guess we
conversation,
need to get to what our conversation.
right, per our conversation, that
I'll read, and it may be too late to discuss this, but I've had 2 parents send me messages
Okay,
that they would like for me to read.
okay.
Is it okay with you if I do that? Okay. The first one is from Miss Sarah Hill. It says, "Dear board members, I respectfully ask that you consider the following in making your decision tonight regarding moving to 5-day in-person instruction. Unless the entirety of the staff is vaccinated, risk should be mitigated by providing a deep cleaning of the school 1 day a week without students present. Also, teachers need a supplemental day to be available to families that have elected for at-home instruction for their students. Unless the district is prepared to pay for the overtime hours required to accomplish both of these things, instruction in person should remain at 4 days a week. If the district is able to provide fair pay for the supplemental work, fantastic. If not, they are creating an unsafe working environment and increasing the risk of neighbors in our community. At the least, the decision should be made after community members and family have the opportunity to submit their concerns digitally. This is not the time to require folks to share their thoughts in person at a board meeting. I would also at this point like to add that during Fridays is not only the regular children doing remotely, but the special needs get their services in person. My son, who is autistic, COS, ADD, ADHD, with epilepsy and a heart condition, is more susceptible to COVID. For his safety and his immune-compromised brother's safety, he and his siblings go remotely. And with that said, my son does come to the school on Fridays to receive special ed services as well as speech and OT. Special precautions are taken, such as he only goes from the door to Miss Amy Weber's room. He is the only student in the room, and Miss Amy makes sure that the room surfaces have been sanitized before he gets there. If you open up to about 5 days a week, would be taking away needed services for special needs children that cannot at this time return to school due to their underlying health conditions. The school also would not have the day of deep cleaning it does now. The vaccine isn't available yet to everyone. By opening to 5 days in person, you are putting our most vulnerable community members at risk. Thank you, Ms. Sarah Hill. And then I have one more, and that is from Maggie Ellen Goodman, and it says, "Dear board members, I respectfully ask that you consider the following in making your decision tonight regarding moving." Hold on, wait. That might be the same one. No, it's not. I'm sorry, excuse me. I respectfully ask that you consider the following in making your decision tonight regarding moving to 5-day in-person instruction. Unless the entirety of the staff is vaccinated, risk should be mitigated by providing a deep cleaning of the school 1 day without students present. Also, teachers need a supplemental day to be available to families that have elected for at home. It does sound very similar. But I will go ahead and read it because it was sent to me as well. If the district is able to provide fair pay for the supplemental work, fantastic. If not, they're creating an unsafe working environment and increasing the risk of neighbors in our community. At the least, the decision should be made after communities and families have the opportunities to submit their concerns digitally. This is not the time to require folks to share their thoughts at an in-person board meeting. Best, Maggie Goodman, Fulton County High School English teacher, 2005 to 2009, and class of 2000 FCHS alumni. But I felt that it was important that those thoughts were shared as well tonight.
I would like to reiterate, those vaccines are voluntary, right?
They're voluntary, but here's my other thing, you can't do a true deep clean when we've got 60 kids coming in the building anyways. I mean, what they're sitting there saying is that basically saying that we can't have the staff or the kids here on Friday,
That's
which is
why
the virtual kids, so it's not really.
If you're gonna do that, you better do it on Saturday. I mean, it's,
I mean, am I correct? You-
Or do you have midnight shift crew?
Yeah, I mean, you shaking your head, I'm correct, right?
Well,
People are here, you can't do a deep clean, people are here.
You can't do a deep cleaning in the rooms that are being used, but there are rooms you can rotate the rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have, I mean, the staff is here.
But in my mind, I'm willing at this point to pay for deep cleaning on Saturdays. I'm just, in my mind, when you talk about this, like I said, hours this week. We just need to do what we gotta do to get the kids educated and caught up. That's my mindset right now.
I'm afraid if we don't go and do it, I'm afraid come August, we're gonna be kicking the can again and saying,
I mean, that's just my mindset right now. I'm just, don't know how else to catch the kids up.
I think instructionally, I absolutely agree that we all agree that the students are not where we would like them to be. We do have to realize, I think, Lou Young, who's the chairman of the Kentucky Board of Education, said, this year is what it is. I think we all agree that too. We do need to look at our plan. But we want to reiterate and tell you that we're not, no one has ever said a student can't come on Friday. So and I understand what you're saying, I
Correct me
respect.
if I'm wrong, though, the original paperwork we sent out said
Was
if you
for
want to work
virtual
for it, you
students.
couldn't come on Friday. So
It
that's why
was.
most parents aren't,
Sitting.
just like me and him talked. I mean, that's why people work calls. I didn't want my kid out on Friday.
Well, for the ones that come in, are we gonna be prepared for those, like,
For
running the bus and bringing them in like a regular day, even though it's a Friday?
I think that's what we need to get prepared for, to do.
Well, without wasting any, I mean, she and I had a nice conversation, she knows how I feel about it. I'm not gonna waste everybody's time going into this whole spiel. When are we gonna talk about making that decision though? Are you wanting to listen to anyone else, bring anything to our attention, be it an administrator, or whoever?
When anybody wants to tonight,
So when is the vote gonna be?
where they at? And we can do it tonight. We can call a special call next week. We can, you know.
It's just in there, you just list review that over y'all.
Chairman Garrigan, I would say this, representing instruction and the administrators, we're gonna do what you want us to do. We're gonna do that. It's your decision as a board.
Yeah.
And we're prepared to do what we need to do. We've always done what you've asked us to do as a board and what Ms. Patrice has asked us to do. We do, if you do vote this, we are gonna need time to get everything ready. There are some
Well, we know it's not
things
gonna be
that,
all right.
yeah.
It's not gonna be an immediate
but,
thing, but I know the longer we kick the can, the further it's going.
goes down the road, absolutely. But I just wanna tell you that it's your decision. We will do what we need to do. We have always done what we need to do. We want your children, we love your children, but, and we will make it work, whatever you want us to do.
But as far as them showing on Friday, they can start that next Friday, correct?
Well, we do have to, we do have to plan.
Well, no, I'm talking about it's
What
like,
if you had a rush of 522 students to say, we're coming on Friday?
Yeah, what if all?
well, that's what I
except
get,
the
but
virtual
if they called the administrator and said, I want
You're
to.
saying right now.
Right, so that's my question. Are we gonna be ready for all of this?
Can I say something? Some of my high school kids are working on Fridays. They will not want to come.
Well, that's what I'm saying, give them the option.
They do their NTI work and they have gotten a job now. So it's a little bit different for high school students. I do have, parents have called me and said, for example, I've got some students who are behind and parents have called and said, can my child come on Friday? Yes, they've been with me every Friday. They're face to face. And I have virtual kids on Fridays, but that's the one point that I want to make is that I don't want it's been a good opportunity for my high school kids to be able to go out in the community.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if they want
A choice.
to, still have the choice, I'm not saying right this year, but I think any parent that wants to get their kid out here, we need to get them out here. If you want to opt out and still do virtual Friday, fine, but I think if we do that, we better be planning because I think we're gonna have to run buses. We're gonna have to plan for, I don't think if, say it's 500 kids, I would almost bet 400 to be out here. If we make it known that we want you to come on Friday.
And I think it's
Or
a
might not
great
make sense for
thing.
that, I mean.
What they're able to do on Fridays is great,
Well,
but
if
there will have to be an end to any of that. Next year, that's not gonna be
Well-
hopefully an option. So I mean, the longer we put off getting everything back to, the grid, then the harder it is for that transition to ever be made, no matter
Well,
what.
I wish, and it's been talked about earlier, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's March now. If this had been discussed in December and we started this in
See,
January,
there
We
again,
should have.
but everybody's concerned, we didn't have that freedom to speak of this.
The reality of the virtual schools are dropping. So it became evident after January 4th, when you come back after. So here
I
what
wouldn't
we're
disagree with
proposing,
that.
what we're
Depends
proposing,
on the
Out there, it's Tuesday, correct?
Depends on the school.
Can we
what
do
we're
that?
proposing here is the ability to choose for your child to come back. That's not saying it's next.
Yeah, but if I did it, I wouldn't try to. It's a tutoring day, so that's extra kids.
I'll go interrupt everybody, but. I would add this to have a vote Tuesday night, because we're all got here.
I was gonna suggest, we're already gonna be here.
We're getting an agenda, have a special call,
Special call board meeting Tuesday evening, what time?
we got here at
We're
6.
supposed to be here at 6, so.
We're here at 6, you wanna do it 5:45?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
We'll discuss it, y'all let me know what time works best for everyone. but we will-
5:45 will rush me.
Okay.
I work an hour from Hickman, so
We can do it after the last interview.
5:45 there's no way I can be at home.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
literally walked in today at 5:55.
We can do it after the
That's
last
what I'm gonna say,
interview.
you gonna do that the last interview, Ms. Kim?
That's fine.
It don't take long, I don't think.
But I do want to say this. I do realize that the children do need to go back to school, but I think that we need to take in consideration as a board that it took planning to get the first plan in order to run. So I think to look at the planning. We also have to look at the CDC guidelines, and we also have to take in consideration what the governor is saying. Now, we have almost 60-something teachers that did not want to take the vaccine. That's something that we also have to think about. And so we want what's best for all the children. Definitely we do. And if you really look at it, it's across the board. It's nationwide. It's not just our school. All the children are behind. All of them. I mean, it is just a known fact. We don't want it. It was just, we hate that they're behind, and we get it, that parents are having to be teachers. And no, you didn't sign up to be a teacher. But when we look at it, it says that the parent is the child's first teacher. And so teacher, when the kids come to school, they don't learn everything at school. Parents still have to put in some work as well. That's just my thoughts. I think we need to take in consideration how our administrators are feeling. We have 9 weeks and Fridays left. In those 9 Fridays, are our children going to have enough time to even get caught up? And I'm sure that we're going to have to do some summer school when you look at it. So I definitely agree that on Tuesday, we definitely can take a vote, and we'll see. But thank you guys for coming and having a dialogue with the board. We appreciate that. We hear what you're saying. We understand what you're saying. But I think it is some discussion, and we need to look at our plan, and we need to revisit and see what's best for the whole district.
I don't know whatever decision we make, this is a strong school. This is a very powerful community, and we didn't get any warning that we were gonna have to do this either. I mean, they just threw it at us, and we said, this is what we gotta do, and we're scrambling. You're not always gonna have time to do everything. I mean, we just had to make it work. We're gonna have to make it work again, whatever we decide to do, whatever that is.
Well, I feel like
We
it's
just
our
gotta start
responsibility to keep the kids from going any further behind, is the way I'm looking at it now. And when you got, of course, we're still harping on this dead horse right now, but the being is the fact that all schools in Tennessee start back 5 days a week, that's what got parents thinking more, why are we doing it? And I understand that. I mean, I'm like, Ellen, really, we should have done this in December. But I feel like that part we couldn't, but we should have. We should have done a lot of things.
And if you wait until all of your faculty and staff are vaccinated, you'll never go back to school. Because that's a
You got a lot of people that are not going to do it.
So either you mandatory it in order to have a job here, you get these kids back in, you let your teachers be mandatory or let them go.
Can I say something just really quickly?
We don't want to force people.
And I'm one of those people who took the first shot and got very ill, and I cannot take the second shot. But as far as just thinking about planning for this, it took a lot of thought for our initial plan and the way that it is set into motion. And there are a lot of pieces, and I understand, like next year, or whenever you all tell us, because obviously we follow more direction, we'll rework that entire plan. Next year, we will create a different plan, because I agree, 5 days, the instructional, the calendar. But the pieces that go into place to make sure that everyone stays safe. As far as like the faculty, everyone has to come in. It's for the separation, for the potting in the elementary. You know, I have staff that come in way early. Every teacher, every other week, gives up their lunch. Because we can't have everybody in the cafeteria at the same time. There's just little nuances that we have to continue to plan for, keeping them separate all the way through till the end of the day. And even after the second rounds of buses and just the staffing to get all of that into place. I mean, those are just a piece of what we need to look at when we say, you know, just come on back. Because there's things that we do on different days to account for several of those pieces to keep everybody safe and to follow all those COVID guidelines.
With that, if you feel that it's fair to you for the recommendation that the community be allowed to call you and arrange for you to approve students coming from 8 till 3 in the afternoon on the whim.
Anybody can call me, and we do have small groups that have been coming in and certain students, and we're trying to meet the needs of all of our learners.
But what was discussed earlier was that approving for you to send a child from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. With the possibility of 520 people.
Look, now, if that's the case, then we have to look at, I'm all about systems and processes. You have to look at the system, like the plan that we have, you have to look at that and see how it all works. And that's just mine, I just want to throw that out.
We appreciate all.
Thank y'all for coming. Love for you to call me first thing in the morning.
Okay.
I guess we done cover community input.
Well,
Can we skip down? I was going to say, for Dr. Carter.
That's
He got it all himself.
You know,
We're breaking the freeze now, right? You come in, have the long week.
One of the interesting things about my job, I'm a retired superintendent, and I've been serving as executive coach now for a long time. I was Aaron Collins' executive coach when he was new superintendent here. So I have been executive coach for every superintendent in Kentucky in all 171 districts. And as I'm traveling school board meetings right now, I'm getting the same story. Last night I was in Henderson County. Night before that I was in Jenkins, Kentucky, which is up on the Virginia line at school board meetings. So I've been attending these meetings, and the parents come in and faculty members in and so forth. And across the state, I can tell you there's about 60% of the faculty and staff who have elected to be vaccinated. That's about what the average is on. And in terms of kids returning to school, it's all over the board. Last night in Henderson County, they voted to go back. They've been doing a split hybrid schedule. Last night they voted to go back 4 days a week, March 1st, and then 2 weeks later, they're going back 5 days a week. That gives them 2 weeks of planning time to kind of get everything in order. But reality is the numbers are changing. You know, we say, well, we wish we'd gone back right after Christmas. We couldn't go back right after Christmas because of the numbers the way they were. But they're moving enough now that we can go back. And I'm not trying to plant a seed there, but that's what these guys are saying. And I understand where everybody else is coming from, and especially teachers that haven't been vaccinated, that kind of thing. I've had my second shot. I'm fully vaccinated. But it's a lot of people aren't, and a lot of people can't, you know, for whatever reason. So it's a complicated, it's not an easy decision. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Teresa.
That's right.
When Aaron called me and said he was leaving, My first question was, who's gonna be the interim and how's that gonna work out? And, when there is an interim or a new superintendent, I always contact them and tell them that there is a requirement according to state law to have new superintendent training. You guys have any idea when new superintendent training as a requirement started? Have you ever heard that story? And it's a true story. You know, Kentucky Education Reform Act, 1990, it made the legislators so mad that the school districts had sued them about lack of funding for schools that they said, we're gonna take these superintendents who brought these lawsuits against us, and we're gonna require them to take training to keep their positions. So they tried to make it as hard as they could. You know, back in those days, it wasn't online or anything like that. You had to go to Frankfurt a whole bunch of days, take training on law and school finance and those kinds of things. And then actually take a paper pencil test, and if you didn't pass it, you lost your certification. I took new superintendent training in 2002 myself. And when I took it, it was paper and pencil. I had a guy who was with me from, I'll tell you, from Breathitt County. He failed the finance portion 5 times. He lost his certificate. He got fired. So that's kind of the background of it. But since that time, it's turned around and now it's helpful. I hope you would say that rather than punitive. It started out as being punitive, but now it's something that, you know, you receive training on everything from finance to law to assessment to instruction, everything else in between. Some board superintendent relations and all those. She and I'll be here 4 times throughout the year, once each quarter. And then I came and spent a full day with Patrice back early in the school year. And then came back virtually for her IFP meeting. And Ms. Garrigan was there for that. And then her mentor, who is Casey from Hickman County, fellow superintendent, is her mentor. So we comprise our IFP team. Here tonight for a board meeting, I'll write a follow-up and send it to your board chair and to your superintendent tomorrow. And then I'll be back in late May, early June for her capstone presentation, which is like a final exam. So she's really got 2 things she's got to pass. She has to pass new superintendent training to keep her certificate, and then obviously she has to pass the board's evaluation to either be hired as a full superintendent or to not be hired. That is your decision. When she was named as an interim, I called her and said, do you want to do new superintendent training? Because interims do not have to do that. They're not required by law to do that. They're strongly encouraged because they need to know all that information in that position, but they don't have to. And so I was straight up with her. I said, you know, this is going to take probably 17 days out of the district, traveling to Frankfurt, meet with all the other new superintendents and meet with the instructors and do the training, plus the 4 visits I'll make to the district. And without hesitation, she said, I'm gonna do it. And see, she didn't have to do that. But what that means is, obviously, if you hire her, she's gonna have that behind her. She won't be out of the district 17 days. If you hire somebody else who's new, then they're gonna have to do new superintendent training. So that's kind of one thing to consider. But she has represented you well in the new superintendent training. And this year, as you might expect, it's been a little bit different. Normally we spend 17 days together. That's about 2 days per month throughout the school year in Frankfurt with all the other new superintendents. And this year she has 19 in her class. So this year we've had to do some of it virtually. We use a lot of Zoom things, but we're in person quite a bit more than you might expect. In fact, we'll be in person 2 days next week at the Yard House in Louisville for some finance and law training. And so every time we have a meeting, you know, always new superintendents touch base, get together, and they all know each other. When I was at Jenkins on the other end of the state, he was actually asking me, how's Patrice doing? And so they know each other well. That's a good connection. She has had to do an e-portfolio, which is an online collection of information that she does in support of each of the standards. She's had to do a professional growth plan. She's had to do an individual learning plan. She's had to do a 30, 60, 90-day plan. So all these things, you might or might not be surprised to know that she's ahead of the curve on all those. In other words, if we have a deadline set to have those in, she has it in well in advance of the deadline. So she's doing great and everything she's required to do. I have nothing but positive things to say about her. And I'll be back in late May, early June for her evaluation, her capstone presentation. And in the interim, if I can answer any questions about new superintendent training, I'd be happy to do so. I will tell you that superintendency is a tough position. You guys know this year, she's had baptism of fire. All the new superintendents, you got 19 across the state, and they're just kind of swimming, trying to keep their heads above water. We've already got 15 openings for next year.
Oh,
A
wow.
lot of the experienced superintendents are saying, I'm done with this, I'm going home. So we're gonna have more. We got 15 already, and normally we don't have those until about May. So we're probably gonna have 25 openings next year for superintendent. We got a good one. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carter, and for what you and your team does for the new superintendent. I don't believe I wouldn't have made it without you and the team, Miss Diane, and the help of my PP team, which is Patrice's power team. I do.
And a good board.
Oh, fantastic. Best in the state. All
Can't
right.
hope. Thank you, Teresa. All right, moving on. Anybody have any questions for any of the administrative team reports, or we'll leave that out, or anybody will say anything about the report? Moving right along. Approve emergency substitute certification.
We have a student teacher who will also be our sub. We're blessed to have one of our own graduates, student at Murray State. She's going to do her student teaching. And now Kentucky has allowed student teachers to be substitutes. And we're fortunate to have her in our district. So need to approve a emergency substitute certification for Jenna Elliott.
I need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve that one.
All those in favor say aye. So, all right, we need to approve the 2021-2022 staffing allocations.
So there should already have those other guys. Come on.
Staffing allocations have been completed. Our finance officer, Ms. Jennifer, and I went over the staffing allocations, and right now they are bare bones until we find out whether or not they're going to cut seat. I hope that they don't, but the principal, they're very understanding that there's allocations is bare bones right now, and that when we have the money available, May 1st, they'll be getting a new allocation. Recommended to approve the 21-22 staffing allocations. No, just.
No, she just do it very long. Need a motion to approve, motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Approve the BG one. I'm gonna share a little bit about it, and then I'm gonna turn it over to our finance officer, Ms. Jennifer Davis. Kentucky has required us to update some of our security measures. So the Career Academy, the high school, the elementary school, the middle school, and the central office will be getting new hardware on their doors for cameras and the little buzzy thing. So we have that, but it needs to be all the way outside of the building. And so we have $16,000 in a grant that we're going to use that the state gave us to help towards this. And then the CFO, Jennifer Davis, has worked some magic to try to help us make these safety renovations to our district. So I'm turning it over to Jennifer.
So in other words, like you go in high school, you have to buzz in the door inside, they go outside, where they're not trapped in the doors.
Yeah, the exterior doors and this also puts card readers and, which is what Patricia was alluding to, and the cameras on like the ag shop at the back of the school, some ATC doors, even the door here at the board office. And so it's a 50, if you go on down just a little bit, Megan, it's a $50,000 project. From what our car on the doors and Union City Glass are the two vendors. We did the BG1 project application. Hopefully it goes through. This is our first time with getting the BG application in this new system that they have done. You can go back up just a little bit, Megan. When we looked at funds and where to take these funds from, there's an SSR fund that's money from the state. They dove out to all the different districts. We got almost $16,000. It's $15,972. Then, so it was like, okay, where's the rest of the money gonna come from? So we also have a grant that comes from the state that is a 20% allocation grant for the ATC. This is this money we get between 45 and 50,000 every year to do upkeep on the building at the ATC, because the state runs the ATC, but we own the building. So but we can only use it for maintenance on the building. So I went through, and go back up just a little bit more. I went through all the bills and pulled out exactly what was going to the ATC so we can use that grant money for the ATC portion. Then, so that left what was left. We're hoping, right now we have to put it, because I have a email sent to the state to see if we can use our ESSER 2 funds that we're gonna get, but they have not answered me yet. But we needed to go ahead and get this project started, because we're afraid that with the ESSER 2 money coming out, that schools are going to bombard these vendors, and they're going to, and the bid's only good for 45 days. The quotes are only good for 45 days. The price is gonna go up, they're gonna get busy, they're not gonna have time to do it. We're hoping to get this done this summer, you know, to replace these doors and stuff, where we're not having kids maybe every single day going out every single door. So that I know we're gonna have summer school and that kind of stuff, but we can do some workarounds. So right now we have almost $600 coming out of the general fund. I'm hoping we can do a revised BG1 if the state says we can use ESSER funds for that. So, but as of right now, I broke it out that we would use 10,008 of our ATC allotment for facilities. And then the almost 15,972 that's coming out of the SSR funds that the state gave us, and at least 23,597 out of the general funds. And then there's a little bit of contingency there, because to do a BG1, you have to allow 5% for contingency in case anything. But anyway, we're waiting. We'll wait and see if it gets approved by the state.
So we need a motion to approve. Motion to approve. I'll second it. All those in favor say aye. All right, you're up again, Ms. Jensen.
Oh, no, let me get your bullets. I have too many tabs over here. There we go.
Our financial report for this month, we had collected total revenues, $3,373,376.97 against the budget of $5,007,344, which we've collected 67.37% of the budget. Our expenses as of the end of January, It's a total of $1,938,178.56 against the same budget of $5,000,007, which is, we've spent 38.71%. Last year at this time, at the end of January, last year, we had received revenues of $3,421,466.56 against a budget of $4,911,652.60, which was 69.66% of the budget. And expenses last year were $2,208,461.15 against the same budget, which we had spent 44.96%. So we're collecting about the same percentage of revenue, and we are better in expense wise a little bit than last year, right at 7% of budget. So we're doing excellent.
Thank you, Ms. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anybody have any questions? All right, moving on. Approve superintendent travel reimbursement.
There is none this month.
Moving on. Anybody have any comments or questions about the monthly reports, or we need to make a motion to pay the bills?
Make a motion to pay it.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So moved. So Ms. Kim. You still there, Ms. Kim?
Aye. Yes.
All right, any discussion items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Hey, one thing I'd like to say, this has been a hard year for students, it's been a hard year to be a board member. These guys talking about safety and election decisions and all that.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
We appreciate you making sure.
I'll see you guys in.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Oh,